going to be taking this money tree and separating it out into a forest planting. So it's really common for you to buy money trees from a big box store and they'll be all braided. This one was. So it was 5. One stalk had died, and then the other 4 I unbraided, and I'm going to be putting them in this nice bonsai pot. Now, depending upon how this happens, in the future with this planting, I might trade the pot. This is a really nice pot, but it's fine. So I'll have to just see how embedded the roots are together. I'm sure they are quite embedded. Possibly even some fusion going on at the very base. I have a very large money tree that is braided, that you would never unbraid. I guess my hope is that over time, given enough years, that it fuses together and creates something cool. I mean, I think it really looks cool the first time I saw the braided stuff, the design stuff, I thought it was cool, but, more and more, I'm kind of liking that natural look. So we'll see what that big one, gives us in the future. I mean, it does make the trunk very large and goes up. So if it all fuses over time, that might be really cool. But for this one, my ultimate goal is to have like some kind of Hawaiian or tropical looking planting. At first, obviously that's not going to be the case here. I will have a forest, but when I was in Hawaii, I saw a single money tree in a planting that was all landscaped and had sand and stuff, and it kind of looked like a palm tree, just because the way that they go up and then they have just a foliage cap. So I really liked that, and I think one day in the future I'm going to try to recreate that, or at least make something based off of that inspiration with sand and maybe a small pond, or add a tiny little fountain pump or something like that to make some kind of a really cool landscape. So that would be cool. I think with this, these money trees, I'm going to keep them short. We'll see if I take any off completely. I have a feeling that if you trunk chopped one of these, that it would shoot out pretty well. I might not do that today. I guess we'll just have to see. What I really don't want is the forest to all be the exact same height, but I would like to separate these out and give them individual room to grow. They're all together, they shade each other. I already took a couple of really big leaves off of the top of this. I have this under a fluorescent grow light, an old aquarium grow light, like a full spectrum light that I had from the aquarium hobby, extra laying around, so I keep this under that. It really, wants some light, but I can see that it's it's getting starved out. If I separate that, it'll give each tree an opportunity to get its own light, and we'll see how that goes. I learned my lesson after last time. I think I'm going to be using a container for my repot, so that way I don't get dirt and soil all over the place. So it's in there pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and get it loose first before I try to pull on it. It wasn't too long ago. This was in a much smaller pot, and I put it in a bigger one just to give it a little bit of breathing room. So it hasn't been that long. I think maybe a couple of months. So I figured it might pull right out, but it didn't. So that's fine. I just made a jade for us, but I forgot to turn the microphone on. So that's cool. Okay, so I still got some dirt on the outside, but at least we got 90% of it. This is semi-dry, which is nice. It's coming apart nicely. Hopefully we have a decent little root base on each one of these. But it's also possible that they fuse right at the base and then I'm going to have to cut them apart. So yeah, there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of roots for 4 trees. Might trim that back, but I'll wait a little bit. Looks like some came off during the raking. I was being pretty gentle though. Yeah, they're coming right apart. That's great. I've actually had these for quite a while. And I think because they were in such a small pot that, I mean, I don't know, they don't have a huge root mass on them, so I guess that really couldn't be the case, but my assumption is that since I had them in such a small pot that they were root bound and it was keeping the plant small. So might be another reason for its lack of growth. I do know my large money tree, that the big braided one, is, I sliped pot it into a really large pot and put some small grow lights on it. They're not very strong, but they are helpful. But it's grown a foot in, I would say, 45 days. So different kind of vigor. I mean, this looks healthy, but the growth is not huge. But that's okay. We want to keep them small anyway. So there's one. Yeah, there's not much for roots on that one, and it was completely shaded as well. This one was way down in there, so I think it's going to be really happy about this decision. The leaves essentially are solar panels and are going to feed the roots. So I can see why there's small roots on this one. Where the biggest ones with the most leaves have the largest roots. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be much to do here. I have, one root I think on here that's a little bit too high. I'll cut off, but there's not going to be really any pruning to speak of. They just need to be put in the forest planting and then see how much separation I can get from them and if I'm going to chop them or not. So I'll just sterilize my scissors real quick, sanitize them. I just used these when I was doing the jade cuttings, and it's always good to sterilize your tools when you're working between trees. This one down here kind of has almost like a tap root, but it's too much of the root mass, so I'm going to leave it as it is, even though it's not nice and radial. I'll see if I can kind of get it out and flat, kind of like that. But, you know, I mean, you got 4 of these in here, so might be a tiny crowded. Okay, and then this one, I have just a little room to take a tiny bit off. And maybe this high one here. Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. And this one has a high one as well, but with such a lack of roots on this one, I'm going to do nothing to it. I'll plant this one a little bit deeper and leave that. Just until maybe more hopefully can start shooting out and I'll be able to improve it in the future. This one here is almost the same thing. It's got just enough. It's got this one high root up here that I can get rid of. And then the rest seems pretty good to go. Now we won't need to wire these trees in. I don't think there's really enough roots to do so, but I think I got just enough soil to get away with that. If not, you can always take some wire and get them right up through, even after it's planted, and push right through the soil. You don't have to have the excess when you start. So that's worked fine for me. So I'll just throw this in a staple shape. And then we're going to be good to go. Okay, so now we can probably move, trade spaces. With that. We'll try to get an idea. Yeah, that's cool. I can kind of do just like a little diamond shape, I think, with these. And since they're all about the same size, with the exception of, you know, this big one and the canopy, then it really doesn't matter which one I do. I think the big one I will put in the back. And we'll see. I'm gonna plant them a little bit deep just to make sure that they have strength to hold up. But it's possible I might have to add some wire. It's not really a whole lot of roots, and it's pretty heavy. Yeah, I probably will have to add some wire. I could take some of this foliage off, and that would reduce the weight, allow the roots to get stabilized, and then as it grows again, then it'll be totally fine. But I think for now I'm going to leave it as it is and see if I can get away with doing as little root trimming or canopy trimming as possible on all of these, just until they're established and I see that they're very actively growing, and then I can start cutting on them. Yeah, I like that. There's some curvature on this one. And it goes back up. I'm going to try just to leave that kind of sticking out over the pot, out of the pot, and see what that does, how it looks. This main one here might be curving a little bit too much in for a forest, so I'm gonna have to turn that. Maybe you can get a better view on that side. So yeah, that's not really going to work. Sorry about that, my battery died. So instead of trying to wire these, because a couple of them don't have enough roots really for me to do that, I could, still get wire on there around the trunk or something, but I don't think I want to. I think what I'll just do is take a few rocks, like 3 decent sized stones, put them on the surface when I'm done with this, kind of anchor the tree until the roots can establish in the pot. extra around these. Yeah, it's hard. I don't really want to leave this root curled up. I mean, that would be nice for a forest planting, but I almost feel like it's better to straighten these out so that way it can be more radial in the future. Which means that it's going to go kind of right by the other tree, but that's fine. I'm going to eventually cut that back anyway, but I do want to keep its overall direction radial. Just try to make sure that the soil is completely shoved up underneath the plant and around the roots so you don't have any air pockets. That will help keep it stable in the pot and then also prevent the root from drying out. And if I don't like exactly where everything's at, it's not going to be too much work to move it. And just kind of redo it. We'll see. I kind of have everything kind of weeping out, and I don't know how much I like that. When I'm done, I'll take a step back and see if I do or I don't. I can probably change the angle just a tiny bit, and it would make it go away. I don't think I made this quite as diamond shape as I was after in the very beginning. This one right here is off a little bit on this end. This one too. Both of them are. But it's okay. putting in a little extra soil just because I'm going to kind of slightly, not too much, but slightly compact it down. And then watering is going to do the same. Make it settle. Okay. Yeah, so I don't really like that. I guess what I have here is I have these three trees are too much in one row, and then there's this one. When instead, if I moved these two over and made this diamond, I mean, it wouldn't be too much of a human shape. But this one's just a little bit off. So, and this one's kind of sticking out of the pot too much this way. So I think I'll redo it a little bit here real quick. Won't be too hard. Pull them right out. Just take a quick hole for each one. I do want to leave a little bit of room from the edge of the pot so that there is an opportunity for each one to get a radial root base. Dig a little trench here so I can straighten this root out. And I'll angle it a tiny bit, but not nearly as dramatic as last time. So yeah, I like that. I think I like that. It's got just enough lean and drama from, like, if you're looking straight on, it kind of goes this way. And then if you're looking from the side, it kind of goes this way. So it's just enough to kind of give you that random forest look and feel. So that's cool. I'll stick with that. And then next comes the big one. Dig a little trench this way for this long root. Yeah, I think that's a good direction because it kind of goes back. Yeah, I like the way that those two look. Much happier with that. So I am going a little bit off the diamond shape, but I'm trying to leave enough room for the canopy here too. So I'm going to have to juggle giving each tree enough room to how the trunks look in the pot, and trying to avoid something completely unnatural. Probably put just a tiny bit more on soil on the top of this, but I think all in all, it's good to go. Just have to be careful not to bump them and knock them over. And then I'm going to get some top dressing fertilizer, slow release fertilizer. Try to make sure I don't have too much concentrated in one spot. Overall, I really like that a lot better than when it was braided. I do need to get some rocks to put around the base of each trunk just to hold it for a few weeks or so. But yeah, I think I'll try to not shake this a bunch as I walk. Put it in its final resting place. But I will show you the big one that I was talking about that has the super twisted trunk. So that's getting about 5 feet tall. I mean, it's on a little plant belly. But that one's got a massive braided trunk, and the growth, I mean, there's about a foot extra on here since I did that repot. It looks like because of the way I planted it, I'm not going to be able to get it straight on, so kind of forces me not to have maybe the exact front that I want on the tree, because I would think I would like something like that. But overall, I'll take that. I think it's pretty cool. Looks nice with the reef tank in the background. So yeah, I think that we're good to stop there, so thank you very much for watching.